correspondent Obaida Hito. He is in Idlib province for us. Hi, Obaida. We're hearing about what the intentions may be for Idlib at this trilateral meeting, but tell us how it compares with what's actually on the ground there. What are you seeing?
The situation on the ground, according to people that we're talking to and what we've seen traveling in and out of Idlib over the last several months as the escalation went on, is quite desperate. People are now hoping that some kind of ceasefire could actually hold for a significant amount of time, because they've been living under shelling, different kinds of attacks, airstrikes, helicopter barrel bombs, artillery attacks, rocket attacks for more than 5 months now. And that has displaced over 500,000 people. It's killed over 1,000 people. The large majority of the people who are being affected by this displacement are women and children. Hospitals are being deliberately attacked, even hospitals that have provided their coordinates to the international parties involved in the conflict through an OSHA mechanism that's sponsored by the UN are being attacked. Hospitals have been put out of business. They're not operational anymore. Schools are being attacked. Marketplaces are being attacked. The people who are really affected by this ongoing violence are the civilians. The amount of fighters or armed groups that are in this area are a small portion of the people living. There's about 3 million people living in Idlib province. The UN estimates that about 30,000 of them are these armed groups that my colleague mentioned that are in question in terms of what their ideologies are and what their loyalties are. But the large majority of the violence is targeting civilians, and that's the real concern for the Turkish side. It's creating a humanitarian crisis that could possibly lead to lots and lots of people crossing over the Syrian border into Turkey. The people who have been displaced from southern Idlib and northern Hama towards the Turkish border don't have many options. There's not a lot of, how you'd say, aid for people to take advantage of. There's not necessarily camps where they can go to and register and get aid from the UN or even other aid organizations. Aid organizations are having a difficult time accessing and reaching the people who are in need of this aid. So as you can imagine, the situation here in northern Idlib is quite challenging from a humanitarian perspective. In southern Idlib, the artillery shelling is ongoing. Just today, there was artillery shelling in villages in southern Idlib, and that's the main reason that people are leaving those areas and coming north towards the Turkish border, where it's safer, where there isn't artillery and rocket fire, hoping that these meetings today in Ankara might bring a continued ceasefire that lasts as long as it would allow them, to go back about their lives.
Right, Obaida, but I mean, as you're saying, people are moving toward the Turkish border and beyond, some still hoping to cross into Turkey to find safety. Turkey is still focusing on getting refugees back to Syria to return home. Hopefully, they think with creation of this safe zone. I mean, on the ground, how realistic is that looking?
Creating a safe zone in northern Syria, whether it be east of the Euphrates or even here in Idlib, will require major resources. The Turkish military and the Turkish government has been asking for the international community to continue supporting its efforts in establishing peace and moving towards a political process. But as we've heard President Erdogan say, he hasn't been receiving the support that he has expected and the support that he has been promised, whether it be from the Europeans or the Americans. And President Erdogan on Friday, he said that the priority in Idlib is to prevent a new wave of refugees crossing over into Turkey. Turkey already hosts 3.6 million refugees, and we've heard from Ankara in the recent past that if these refugees made it across the border, then Turkey might have to open up a way for them to reach Europe. The situation is still quite violent. There's ongoing shelling in northwest Syria, especially in southern Idlib, and the civilians are not willing to stay there, and they have little options in terms of places to go. People are scared to go back to regime territory because they're afraid that the regime might arrest them or put them in prison or even execute them. And they are they're finding it difficult to cross over into the Turkish border. So many of these people are stranded in northern Syria near the Turkish border, especially the UN is saying 50,000 women and children who are stranded in the demilitarized zone in Idlib province. So you can imagine that the situation is quite desperate, and people are really hoping for a long-term solution.
Indeed. Okay, Obaida Hito joining us there from Idlib in Syria. Thanks for that.